Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 5, Episode 28, Caesar and Me, written by Adele T. Strassfield and starring Jackie Cooper as Jonathan West. And Caesar and Me is just an average Twilight Zone in my opinion. It's not great or terrible. It's just kind of there. It's fine, I guess. So we start with our main character, Jonathan, and he's selling his watch because he needs money. We'll find out later that he needs this to pay the rent. And we are also introduced, as he goes back home, to a young girl named Susan, who will be significant in the episode. And she's playing around with some darts, which will be important at the end of the episode. So he goes into his house and he's talking to Caesar. He's a ventriloquist, and this is his dummy. And the dummy pretty much insults him and tells him he's finished. So that's our lead into the episode. After the opening narration, we have Jonathan, and he's getting ready for an appointment. He's looking for a job. He's going to have an audition, and the young girl, Susan, walks in. And I have to say, this girl's troublesome, but she's pretty entertaining throughout the episode. I actually would have liked to see more of her. It might have helped. And she wants to see an example of his act. And finally, she sees it, and she basically insults Jonathan. She doesn't like it too much. Then she leaves, and Caesar says, "Keep that girl out of here. She's trouble. I don't like her," basically. So you can tell that the dummy's not too fond of this young girl. So Jonathan tries out for the show, and I have to say, in my personal opinion, it was pretty bad. It wasn't great. And they say they'll let him know. But so he winds up going to an employment agency, and he doesn't have any luck there because he really has limited experience, and he's also not a citizen at this point. So these are all problems. And we go back home, and Susan's around bothering everybody again. And Caesar basically comes up with an idea. He tells Jonathan, "We need money so bad, we should go rob a store." Jonathan doesn't seem too into this, but eventually he gives in. He's what I like to call not one of the smarter Twilight Zone characters, is a nice way to put it. So they do rob this store, and it's successful. And basically Jonathan pays his rent, and Susan is there, and of course she's going to be suspicious of this. So at this point, Caesar convinces Jonathan to listen to him all the time for everything, and of course Susan's listening at the door, so she now knows that Caesar can talk. So Susan comes in and she insults Caesar. She basically dares him to talk, but he says nothing, and when she's leaving, Jonathan catches her as he comes home, but she says nothing and just leaves, even though Jonathan gets pretty upset with her. So at this point, Caesar convinces Jonathan to rob again. Jonathan says this will be the last time. I don't know what he plans on doing after this, but whatever. So Jonathan goes on, and this scene takes a few minutes, and it's okay. It's an average scene. There's a little bit of tension, I guess. So Jonathan gets done stealing whatever he's going to take, and the night watchman comes and catches him, and Jonathan tries to get out of it and cover it up, and I have to say he doesn't do a very good job. Doesn't he realize there's missing stuff, and his excuse isn't very good either. But he goes home, and he's just basically talking to Caesar again about what happened, and of course Susan's at the door listening again. Susan making a nuisance of herself once again. So the next day Susan calls the police because she now knows everything that happened, and Jonathan is questioned, and he does a terrible job. He pauses like he's trying to think of an answer, not probably a good thing to do, and he asks Caesar for help, but Caesar doesn't talk or help him. So Jonathan gets really upset about this. He almost breaks down, and eventually he's taken away. And I have to say, even though this guy isn't the smartest character, it's hard not to feel maybe a little bad for Jonathan at this point. So at this point, everybody's ready to leave, and Caesar calls Susan back. She says, "I knew you could talk," and they basically form a new team that will cause a lot of trouble. And it would have been interesting to see a sequel to this episode, because I personally think that Susan and Caesar would have been a very entertaining pair. But overall, this is just an average episode. It's somewhat entertaining. It's also a little slow and padded in areas. Some of the scenes are a little repetitive, but it's fine. It's okay. So I give Caesar and Me a 2.5 out of 5. Just an okay average Twilight Zone episode. So 2.5 out of 5 for Caesar and Me. And as always, thank you very much for watching.